Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Winona State Football Players Association podcast. I'm super thankful to be joined today by Danica Perner. Danica is our Assistant Athletic Director for Student-Athlete Services. Danica, thank you for being with us.
Of course, Colin, glad to be here.
So I guess the first thing I would ask, that title is a mouthful. We were chatting before I hit record. Why don't you just tell our audience what you do on a daily basis for Winona State Athletics and maybe specifically the football program in Winona?
Yeah, of course. Yes, I know our titles can be a mouthful, so we like to sum it up a lot easier that we are the team advisor, or I am the team advisor for football along with 4 other sports. And then Justin Lair is the team advisor for the other half of the sports here at Winona State. And so as your team advisor for football, I help with academic advising. So making sure our student athletes are staying on top of their academics, are aware of any sort of upcoming exams, quizzes, things like that. But then also academic monitoring for eligibility. So making sure our athletes are having, maintain those academic eligibility requirements of a 2.0 GPA to remain eligible and earning enough credits each semester to play in the next. And then ultimately working with our athletes towards graduation and helping them excel and make their Winona State experience the best it can be.
Awesome. Well, we'll dive into that in a little more detail in a second, but why don't we start by tell us about you. Where did you come from? What's your background in athletics and education, and how did you end up at Winona State?
Yeah, so I'm originally from Marshfield, Wisconsin. I attended UW La Crosse. I played volleyball there for 4 years. So I like to say I know what it's like to experience the demands of a college athlete. I graduated with a degree in sport management, and then I actually came up to Winona originally as a graduate assistantship within the Student Athlete Success Center as their learning specialist while I was working on my master's degree in leadership education. And then a year into my program, I was offered a full-time position where I am now, and I absolutely love it and couldn't imagine myself in a different position. I love getting to know the athletes and who they are and what makes them them. And I always say I love to get to know them and see them excel in the field, but I cherish the relationships that I build with them on a personal level and see them excel beyond the field.
Yeah, for sure. So, the FPA has this mentorship program. We talk a lot with the student athletes as alums through that board about the academic importance. And we hope to drill into kids' heads that they maybe should have a backup plan if the NFL doesn't work out for them. I guess tell me where you think that fits in with the value proposition of Winona State and kind of this balanced, holistic, academic, athletic endeavor and what you've been able to accomplish and see off the field, if you will, with the student athlete in the classroom.
Yeah. And again, we always want to support our athletes and help them, reach their dreams and everything like that as well. And I, in the same boat as you, like to encourage them to have backup plans, even if their first plan isn't going, to the NFL, things like that, but also leaving them with options when they graduate from Winona State to be able to explore what areas they're interested in. And, we do that in multiple different ways. All of our juniors and seniors, we help develop graduation plans to make sure we're all on the same page with them in terms of, hey, this is what I see that you're graduating with in the fall of 23. Is this still your plan? Are you looking to come back for grad school after this? And we help them coordinate any sort of internships and practical experiences that they want to get during their time here. We started to make a variety of networks and have had our alumni in various occupations within different companies that are looking to connect with our current students. And I think it's really cool too. This fall semester, we're actually launching a alumni spotlight series where we're trying to connect current student athletes with alumni in professional fields and organizations that our current student athletes might be interested in too. So really starting to help our current student athletes realize, hey, there's a network of alumni out there that are wanting and supporting you in whatever it is that you want to do.
Yeah. So, and it's working, right? So yes. Let's talk a little bit about kind of the state of where things are at. The football team last year exceeded a lot of people's expectations, I think, around the country and around the conference and even around the community of Winona, winning some huge games and getting a playoff bid for the first time in a couple of years. But we had a ton of success in the classroom too.
Yeah.
Do you mind sharing, bragging on that a little bit about what our student athletes, football specific, were able to accomplish in the last calendar year?
I love bragging about the academic side. That brings out the nerdiness in me. In the spring, football had a term GPA of a 3.32, and their spring cumulative GPA was a 3.25, and both were program records for the football team in the time that we've been tracking, term and cumulative GPA all time. So that's a great success for them. And the other thing I like to note too is that in spring of 23, 72% of the football team finished with a 3.0 GPA or higher in the semester, and 20 of the guys had 4.0 GPAs. So again, they're really putting in the time in the classroom to succeed, which is awesome to see.
So 20 of the guys have essentially a perfect GPA.
Correct. In the spring semester, they did, yes.
And I'm assuming that that's a little bit unique to a football team that has 120 student athletes on it. With the demanding schedule they have with football and academics already, to have a 4.0 is incredible. What do you attribute that success to?
I attribute a lot of it to the guys themselves. They're really, like you said, putting in that time, both obviously on the field, but in the classroom, to work hard and see those outcomes. And again, it's really that comes down to that time management piece and that dedication to the craft. They don't just wind up with a 4.0. They really put the time in to doing that. And again, some of the guys that finished with 4.0s are composite materials majors and business, finance. The majors are all over the board, which is, again, really awesome to see all these guys striving and succeeding in their areas of study.
Yeah. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm a parent, I have a 12-year-old. So in 5 or 6 years, I'm going to be going through this process of, hey, where do I send my child to school? My son, who I hope plays football. Maybe he won't. He loves baseball currently a little more, but football season starts next week, so that'll probably change. But I'm thinking to myself, I'm a parent and my son is being recruited to Winona State and to play football at Winona State. That has to be something that sticks out, I would think, is the high academic standards that are at Winona State, and the proven success and track record academically and postgraduate with success in composite engineering, the business field, education, nursing, whatever major study is. We have all of these areas of study that kids are really excelling in once they leave campus at Winona State. How do we tell that story to those high school juniors and seniors that are being recruited to come play football at Winona State, and how do you get involved in that?
Yeah, so first, with the recruiting process, we always let the coaches know, hey, if you want us to meet with any recruits, we are more than happy to. We love talking about what our department does and the success of our current student athletes. One piece I'd like to add in there too is that we are one, if not the only school in the NSIC to have a Student-Athlete Services department, where our jobs are solely dedicated to the academics of the student athletes, which in and of itself is a great resource that can help put our student athletes above the success of the others in our conference. And then again, we always let the recruits know too, our incoming athletes, that, hey, it's okay to be undeclared when you come in. That's what we're here for. We're here to help you find your niche and what it is that you want to do. And sometimes that's through taking classes in different areas to feel what works best for you. And again, too, we have great relationships with a lot of the different departments on campus and the advisors for the different colleges, where they'll also meet with the student athletes. And sometimes it's just getting our student athletes exposed to others on campus in the areas that they're interested in, that help them build those connections and help them realize, oh, this is what I want to go into. This is what I want to do. And we're always here to let them know, hey, if you decide business isn't what I want to do and I want to try something else, we're here to help them with that and let them know, hey, it's okay to change your mind. I changed my major 3 times in college before I knew what I wanted to do. And I feel like I still ended up where I was supposed to.
Yeah, it's funny. I'm a small business owner myself, and I often tell people that I'm still trying to figure out what I want to do when I grow up. And I've been doing this for over 20 years. And I love that about it, right? Because you just continue to change and grow. And me too, a student athlete, you're a student athlete. My major changed in college. I started in education and realized that I could help kids and impact kids in a different way other than being in the classroom. So I think that's so cool. Tell me about, I'm just curious, and I haven't had this conversation with you, so sorry if it catches you off guard. Tell me about the coaching staff and their importance in driving academic excellence in the classroom with Winona State football, and what's their involvement been in their transition with the new staff coming in last year?
Yeah, the staff is awesome in terms of supporting me and our department and what we do, and on the academic side. They value academics just as much, if not more, than I do myself too, because they too realize that, if our athletes aren't succeeding in the classroom, they can't succeed on the field. And so I'm in constant communication with the entire staff in terms of where student athletes are at with classes, if I see any struggles with anything, and we communicate monthly. I send them an update monthly at the end of it in terms of, hey, this is who's doing really well. This is someone that is getting there, getting back on track, things like that. And so we continuously have open lines of communication. And I think it helps build that relationship too, in terms of, but not only between student athletes and myself and the coaching staff, but also between myself and the coaching staff. Because again, we just want our athletes to succeed, and together we can form, a team to help that student athlete too. So
in today's world, right, COVID changed things, I think, from a college education standpoint and college athletics standpoint. What are the student athletes that you work with? What are their challenges today, and maybe how are they different than they were 3 or 4 years ago?
Yeah, it's crazy to think about our freshmen that are coming through. Some of them, COVID impacted them during their high school. Some of them didn't have graduation. Some of them didn't have a senior year. And so for a while there, it was a lot more of the online learning platform, which not every student is a fan of. Some struggle with, the lack of in-person, face-to-face meetings, the hands-on, ability. And so it's been a challenge for some, and even for myself, to adjust to the online platform of everything. During COVID, we did all of our academic meetings over Zoom, which was totally different for us. A lot more challenging because, again, our student athletes are on Zoom for all their classes. And so trying to find that balance of not overwhelming them, not tiring them out, but also still providing the services that we can to the best of our abilities. And so, the last few years, getting back to a sense of normalcy has been great in terms of, again, getting to meet my athletes in person, getting to have that one-on-one conversations with them. And again, more of a transition back into the classroom. A lot of athletes are seeing that they prefer the in-person classes. And again, some still like the online stuff, but how a lot of them feed off that energy of being in class and getting to meet others as well. It's hard to really connect with classmates when you're in a Zoom setting. And so really starting to build those relationships with classmates outside of, athletics too, has been great for our student athletes.
So final question, and then maybe you can close. So the Winona State Football Players Association has this mentorship program that's been loosely established for about 7 years. I guess I would ask you, how can we help? How can the people watching this podcast help and get involved in making an impact on student athletes' lives as they're developing professionally for postgraduate work?
I think the thing that really stuck out to me about the Winona FPA is all of your career development that you guys do with the team. Not all student athletes realize the importance of career development and what it's going to be like post-student athlete life. There is a big transition. You're used to being in practice and having such a structured day as a student athlete that when you graduate and you're done, sometimes you can be like, what am I supposed to do with all my time now? And so the student athlete development piece of it, in terms of helping them prepare for the real world and any occupations that they're looking at going into, whether that's a job or continuing on to grad school, I think is a huge help to our student athletes. I do a little bit of that here, but again, it's hard too when we're overseeing all of our athletes. And so for you guys to have that targeted specifically to the football program is a huge help. And again, helping them realize what else is out there after student athletes and after they finish their career at Winona State.
Yeah, awesome. Well, how is the first 2 days of camp going? Have you seen the boys around the halls running around?
Oh yes. Yet? The hallways are buzzing, and I love that. It's a little quiet here in the summer, so getting all the athletes back on campus is really exciting. Yes, they're in day 2. Yesterday they said, great first day, great to be back out on the field and just getting the guys back together. They're excited. lot of good buzz around Memorial Hall.
Awesome. Well, Danica, I really appreciate you coming and joining us on the Football Players Association podcast. Thanks for being with us. We look forward to seeing you at a home game. If you see Danica, make sure you say hello to her. Make sure you thank her for all the work she does with our student athletes. Looking forward to seeing you guys at the $100 dinner here coming up in a few weeks. And we're looking forward to kicking the season off at Saginaw Valley State here at the end of the month. Danica, thanks for being with us. I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Colin.
All right.